Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna take a look at a couple of node setup in Blender. Basically, I use Blender Cycles and Blender Eevee and try to do some kind of experiment. Like this is like still pretty basics, but the result is kind of interesting. It was kind of inspired by David McSween or 3D Point Edit. He did a couple of experiment using Cycles or Eevee, but he created this kind of effects. I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, let's have a look. Basically, there is an example. First of all, if you ever want to do like quantizations or posterizations, you can do that using Blender compositor nodes, and um, I believe this is an example from Blender Stack Exchange. It says like fake reduce bits, so you can kind of reducing an image into kind of like a quantized image, and the trick is really just to separate the RGB and then using this formula: subtract, multiply, round, and divide. So this kind of affecting the image. So I tried to do the similar thing using Blender Cycles. I'm using 2.79 and I'm getting kind of similar effect. So that's the original photo, and I can reduce the number of kind of interpolations, so it's becoming like posterized kind of image. That's one thing, but what's more interesting with the Cycles or Eevee is that because it's really fast, you can do experiment like this. I'm using a lot of layering of UV, basically just displacing texture using UV. It's really not that complicated, and I'm just using the displacement here. But if I turn it off, so unplug the displacement, we just get a texture, and this texture itself is just really a mixture of different textures, like a cell shading, Voronoi. Let me turn off one by one. Okay, so this is the original image, right? If I'm using a Voronoi to displace the vector of the texture map just a little bit, I started to get that kind of effects. If I go maximum, I'm getting the Voronoi texture. So you can see it's kind of mixing with the image. Looks like some kind of like a bacteria. But if you just give a little bit, it's kind of like a nice, it's a bit like filter, but there's something nice about it. You can use cell or intensity, or you can also use other procedural texture like magic texture. So that's something you can try, because and I think this is Eevee or this is Cycles. You can use also excuse me, Eevee. Eevee is actually really fast. See, I can go crazy with the scale until you get like some kind of blur. But this is like a like a complex texture being calculated really fast on the screen, almost like real time. This is the typical magic texture. If I'm not wrong, the Voronoi has been updated for Blender 2.8. This is still alpha version of 2.8, but it is really fast. Eevee or Cycles, you can do either one. Something to try. So that's the Voronoi cell kind of disturbing an image. On top of that, I also have this, you might remember this from previous live noding. This is the glitch effect. If I just add a little bit, so it's kind of displacing it in a square checker pattern. This is the quantization thing happening. Back here, we have the cell pattern. So like I said, it's really pretty simple. It's just mixing a lot of procedural texture and then using the value to disturb the texture. So this is kind of like slicing and dicing using texture. So the X and the Y matters. So you go back. So I think it's a good idea to read it from the right. If you want to break down this note and then go all the way to the left, and you can try unplug and unplugging it. You can use M to mute things and see the result. Sometimes you get an interesting result. So this mapping, you see that's the glitch effects happening. That's even more glitchy. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. But I just encourage you to start experimenting if you're interested with Cycles or Eevee. This is the image. This is the original image that basically we are using this color and mixing color. This mixed color is very useful. There's a lot of, so there's mix shader and there's also mix RGB. Use mix RGB a lot. And I haven't even played around with the factor but you can also plug things to the factor and getting additional randomness. But I think a little bit of value is good, not too much, something like that. Alright, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this is useful. Let me know what you think and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.